Hello, 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 and welcome back, as always, to the Summer 26, a global soccer showdown with myself, Gary Striker, a very, how would we say, shy Qooligan over there in his Oakland Roots shirt, and regular Devin Crittenden, one half of the Soccer Sharps, who has a special World Cup podcast, Capping the Cup, with another friend of the podcast, Bob V from the Designated Pundits as well. That is a mouthful.
That's right.
Hey guys, World Cup week. It started. It's Monday. It's coming on Thursday. We're there. How are we all feeling?
Good. I'm getting the fever. I'm feeling that little tingle. I'm seeing the advertising.
Devin, I hate to interrupt, but I think the tingle is the Alexi Lalas mustache you've got. Just giving a little bit of that.
Thank
By
you.
the way,
thank you.
that's a great look, and we love it.
It's bold.
So well done.
It's the World Cup stash is what I'm going with.
And it sings.
It stays for the next 6 weeks. Then is that the plan, or
that's the plan? I might cop out and shave it when the U.S. loses, when they get knocked out. So it was just for the U.S. team.
Well, let us hope that it at least lasts till July. So.
Yeah, round of 16 at best, right?
That would be good. They got a shot. I think some of the projections are saying that if they make it to the round 16, it may be against Iran, which will be something.
This is a dark perversion of mine on July 3rd in Texas, and can you imagine Iran going in and winning as well? That would be a strange birthday eve celebration for the US, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I don't even. There's a minefield that I don't want to wade into at the moment.
Yeah.
Let's keep it on point.
But
super.
The good news about that is that really a lot of different things have to occur for that to happen. It's
yes, but I have seen somebody on Twitter ran 100,000 simulations of the World Cup, and I believe like 48% of the time the U.S. and Iran face each other. So there's around a 50%. There's a coin flip that this happens.
I did not know that, and that's awesome.
I see
I'm
you
sorry,
processing.
but that's just awesome. I think that's great. And let's hear it for the power of computing.
There you go. Yeah, it's how are you guys doing with the Cup? Because I know people are saying it's the least exciting, it's the least hyped. The ticket sales are weird, but I'm still getting the fever. But then again, I'm in this because I gotta do research on all these teams so I can do the gambling stuff. But how are you guys feeling about this?
I think you're going to get two different answers from two different co-hosts here in a way, right?
Let us go with the positive from Mr. Gary Striker.
I'm an optimist on this sense, and we saw it with the Club World Cup, and I think it was maybe not to the same degree and the same extent, but I've seen this every single World Cup, every single major event, whether they're Olympics. In the run up to it, there's negativity, there's going to be crime, there's going to be this, there's going to be that, which I'm not saying there isn't, but what happens is I think as soon as the first ball is kicked, suddenly the festival explodes, and all of a sudden no one's going to get any work done. I think in this country for the next 6 weeks. That's my positive outtake. Who knows? I know Hooligan's on a slightly saltier path than mine.
I think the only crime that's been occurring is what FIFA's been doing to the supporters. I am not a fan of the organization, the way that it has run this. I think they've violated both their own principles and the principles of the beautiful game in many cases. But I will agree with Gary on one thing. Once the ball rolls, it all goes out the window, and it's going to be great because the soccer itself becomes the focus, and then that's where it's appropriate again, where and all the rest of it can take a bit of a back seat for the 90 minutes or the 120 minutes plus penalty kicks, depending on how long it takes to finish the game. And it will be great at that moment, but there will be hiccups and there will be rough patches, as there is with any major tournament. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you get any tickets, Devin, at all? Are you going to any games? Have you managed to dig deep and fork out?
As a wise ticket purchaser, I know that I will not be buying anything until the very, very last moment. I'm out here in Los Angeles, and I'll tell you, there's a number of games at the SoFi Stadium, which is here. I believe the USA opening match against Paraguay, which is still the third highest price ticket behind one of the semifinals and the final. And I'm just like, you guys, don't make it an empty stadium, FIFA. I understand you guys are being sticklers about this money, but it better be full. I'm not even going to try. But I know People will. People will, and I think those prices are going to plummet as we get closer, particularly for some of the
Yeah.
off-brand teams, if you will.
Yeah, like Curacao against Ecuador, for example, or whoever it is, right? No, I get that no one's going to sort of be flocking to Kansas City. I mean, maybe obviously no offense to all the Ecuadorians or the
Or
native
Q, I
Curaçaoans.
know
Yeah,
in your
Well,
neck of the woods, a bunch of my
absolutely.
Bay Area friends are
Yeah.
highlighting, I believe it's Austria, Algeria, or Austria, Jordan kicks
Yeah.
off at like a 9 p.m. local time on a Tuesday.
Yeah, that's
So that might be a good one. Austria is
I
fun.
mean, I think you can absolutely still get tickets for that one. Jordan gets to play in the Bay Area twice. For which my mailman is particularly pleased. He's Jordanian and has been, rocking all of the gear.
Amazing.
He's got
Well,
his uniform on. He's got his Jordan scarf. I'm like, good for you, man.
that's great. And I think we're going to see more and more of that, like talking about the hype of it. And you start to realize, for me, I feel a certain amount of pressure as the host nation, as an American, to say, look, we're not all Trump. We're not all the people that say you can't come here or and are xenophobic or whatever. Like, we want to host a good showing and have people feel welcome and enjoy it. So I'll be out there with various kits on because it starts a conversation on the street. Somebody says like, "Hey, Colombia," and they're very surprised that someone looks like me and wears a Colombia shirt. And I'm like, "Yeah, I love Colombia."
the moustache is blending you in a little bit, I think, as well. But yeah,
that's good. Yeah.
So yeah,
So it's going to be great. You're right. At the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree. Well, okay. Well, look, we've got 4 days to go. I think we're Monday with the recording. Obviously, this comes out, and then first game is on Thursday. That Mexico game. Devin, we wanted to bring you on, I think, just from more of a macro sort of betting perspective and sort of how you're thinking about this, how you're looking at this. So should we maybe start all the way at the end and maybe just sort of who you have? Let's just start off by saying, like, who do you think, like, if you're putting money down now, who do you think is the team to sort of bet on, or who are you looking at in terms of sort of overall winners?
Yeah, so outright winners, they're generally good to take before the tournament, right? And Gary, you and I were talking about before we got started here about Polymarket or Kalshi, some of these prediction websites. So that's a good place you can take some of those future bets, we call them. As soon as the tournament starts and we start to see how things are going to break, then those prices will change. So you'll most likely get the best prices on those teams now, particularly the favorites. Um, for me, I don't think it's a great price, so I'm not going to play the outright future. But I think Spain is the best team in the world. Just from the numbers and the way they play, you can't get the ball off them. They're just so frustrating. You add in the heat, the elements of this has been a big talking point. And obviously, not every stadium's outside, so everyone can relax. But the final itself being, I believe, 3 p.m. local time in New Jersey, not a speck of shade in that whole thing.
It's a concrete oven. It is. I was there for the Club World Cup.
You were
and
there for the club final, yeah.
It was unbearable. It really was horrible. Yeah, it was.
But that team, I think Spain holding the ball away from you and forcing you to run in circles for 90 minutes is going to play really be a great advantage for them, I think, in terms of tiring other teams late on, because you really have to be switched on the entire time you play them. So they're my pick to win the thing. But if we zoom out, we look at the group phase, this is one I'm going to be very cautious about because they've kind of taken away the jeopardy of the group stage. I saw a chart that we were talking about again before we got started here, 100,000 simulations of the World Cup. And it seems that 3 points gets you through about 86% of the time in these simulations. So teams, if you win a game, you're pretty likely to go through here, or you could draw 3.
Yeah.
Even
So
2 points, I think 2 points with like a positive goal differential can get you through up to like 50% of the time.
And that's obviously because they've expanded with so many teams now. So obviously they have those third place options to sneak you through, right? Interesting.
Exactly.
Didn't think of it that way. Yes.
The fourth place teams will be eliminated, and then only 4 of the third place teams are eliminated to the round of 32. And if you think about it, we go to the round of 32, the first knockout round, and that's what the World Cup used to be. So suddenly it's an old World Cup. So that's going to be, I think, taking away a lot of drama from this group stage. And I also think a lot of the big teams are going to rotate a lot. The Frances, Englands of the world, because they're going to get that first 3 points and say, okay, let's keep our squad fresh. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
for me, cautious at the beginning.
Good insight there, Devin. Very good. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So, and then any other, from that sort of there, have you been looking at like top goal scorer, most assists, anything along those lines in any way?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. One piece I have really liked, like one betting market that I do like, is top team goal scorers. So you can pick the player for that team to score the most goals. So if you take it outright to win the Golden Boot, you have to think about a lot of things. You need to take somebody who's going to go deep in the tournament and score a lot of goals, a team that has a lot of scoring. A lot of people are picking Harry Kane because I think England will go very deep. However, if you've been watching Thomas Tuchel or England in the past several major tournaments, they don't score a ton of goals. They take care of opponents with possession and an amazing defense and sort of organization. So I would lean away from someone like that. One place that I have been looking at is Spain, as I mentioned before, because I do think they're going to go very deep. They don't have really that central focal number 9. It's sort of a scoring by committee situation because they're so interchangeable. But Ferran Torres, he is sort of their number 9. It looks like he's gotten the job from Oyarzabal. So maybe those two will be sort of subbing in and out for each other. I think a lot of people will look at Lamine Yamal, and rightfully so, but he's not an unknown quantity now. So I
He's
think
injured. Isn't he injured
I
or
was
he's
going to say
struggling as well,
Ferran
right?
Torres is out. He's out,
at least
right?
for the
Isn't he?
group stage, possibly. But
Okay.
he'll
Yeah,
come back,
that's
I think, at some point.
right.
So
Right.
people might be looking at him, but yeah, for me, look elsewhere. Look at maybe that Ferran Torres. I think he has an amazing number. Another player I'll point out, another team that I really like as a dark horse is Japan. And I'm sure,
I like hearing that because I think Japan is I think they're also a good candidate to show up to
yes.
shock and surprise. Yeah.
And you can look at their top goal scorer is a guy, their striker is named, I'm going to butcher this, Uezda or Ueza. I wish I knew his name. Anyway, he was the Golden Boot winner for the Eredivisie this season. And I think this Japan team is going to surprise some people. Your Netherlands, Gary, might be on upset
No,
watch.
that's my team.
Yes.
Oh, you're talking about Ayase Ueda.
Wait, okay, yes.
Yeah, Ayase
Not great
Ueda,
with
who
the-
plays for Feyenoord. Yeah, yeah, he's quite good. I actually got to see him play live against Mexico during a friendly. Slippery player. Has a hell of a rocket too. Boy, he can boot it like you wouldn't believe. So yeah.
Japan have always been a well-organized team, and I mean they got that result against England in the warm-ups as well. I agree with you on that one, Devin. They are not to be underestimated. They will
Brazil
go deep
as
into
well.
this competition.
Beat Brazil 3-2 in that
they also
same
beat
sort of
Brazil.
series. Yeah,
correct. Yeah.
So okay, interesting.
So Devin, I have a question about
Please.
about Mbappé. Do you think Mbappé breaks the World Cup goal scoring record in this World Cup? Because he's on 12 right now, and he's got to get 17 to be closer.
He's got to get 17 is the number, so he needs, 5 more to tie?
It's 5 or 6 more. 6 more, I think, to take it outright. 5 to tie.
It's hard to see him not at least tying, right? I mean, the guy is phenomenal. I worry about France, though. I think they were one of my picks. I'm not saying anything surprising. I think a lot of people like France and Spain. But that team and Mbappe, there's a lot of Mavericks. There's a lot of showboat kind of guys in there as well. And I love to watch him. Ryan Cherok's my favorite player to watch in world football. I love watching him. He's just such an asshole. What he does with the ball. He wants to make people look silly. I'm all for it. But I think there's like a lackadaisical attitude that comes with some of that. Desiree Doué is another kind of guy who plays that sort of like tricky, fun style, which again, I love to watch. Don't get me wrong. But when you come into a really intense tournament like this, if you don't have a killer instinct, I worry a little bit. And they're missing the guys like Griezmann, or tall number 9 with the
Giroud, Olivier
Giroud.
Right, yeah. But
yeah,
do you
those
think
sort of veteran presences, So now it's like Mbappe really is that guy, and we haven't seen him handle that role very well.
that is, I think I agree with you, but it is scary on paper, that team of like Olise, Doué, Mbappe, Dembele, and then Cherki. Maybe he doesn't even start as well, and you can bring him on and rotate him as well. But we were discussing this the other day. It's like, does Mbappe actually sort of step up and become the figurehead of this team, because that's what he needs to do? Because again, it kind of can become a bit of a Ronaldo-esque situation where it can actually sort of be a negative rather than a positive, right?
That's my concern. I see him as a negative influence. I see him as a bit of a toxic figure inside that area, right? And I believe in our last podcast, Nick Britton mentioned that historically, when he say French don't do well when they're in hotel rooms, he's like, they don't like being in the hotel room, and so they end up there's infighting and there's bickering and there's who knows.
It seems like there's a little bit of a powder keg brewing over there. There was all the drama at Real Madrid. And, I'm not sure how that broke exactly, but Mbappe and Tchouaméni were involved, and they're 2 main players for France. I don't know. It's different in a World Cup, though, right? It's easier with your countrymen, I think, to say, like, hey, we're pulling for the same thing. But France has been there so many times. Do they lose a little bit of the desire, a little bit of the hunger? But then again, you could flip that and say, well, they lost it. And one of the best finals we've ever seen last time.
Right.
Does that motivate them to say, we get it over the line this time? I don't know. Fascinating. They're one of the most fun teams to watch. So there's always that.
Which then brings up the question. You mentioned the best final of all time, and we haven't even mentioned Argentina.
Yeah.
Does that mean that they are a non-factor in this World Cup? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Not.
What are your thoughts on them, huh? Alba Celeste, you say they're not a factor. Wow.
No. I mean the opposite. They most definitely are a factor.
They still are. We just hadn't gotten there yet. Fair point.
I look at where the bookies are putting them, and I believe they're dropping into like 5th or 6th to win it all.
Right.
The only argument I can come up with is, okay, Messi's older and they've lost. They just won it, so they got the sort of monkey off their back, if you will, and they don't have the onus. They don't have that hunger, desire we were talking about anymore, or at least what they had last time, where it seemed like they would have killed anyone just to get there. But this team is still, underlying numbers, is by far one of the best teams in the world. Incredible defense. They went through the CONMEBOL qualifying, breezed through it, first place. And CONMEBOL is really hard to qualify, and it's a long process. You play 18 games. They breezed through, top of the group, least goals conceded. They won the Copa America last time out, although Colombia took them to penalties, but in the final. But they're absolutely a factor. They just have so much talent. You talk about France's attacking talent up front, and I don't think anyone's depth rivals France. But, I mean, some of the names in Argentina, Julian Alvarez, Lautaro Martinez, Nico Paz has made a lot of noise as a number 10 creative player at Como this season, who had an amazing season in the Serie A. Gosh, I know there's at least one huge player I'm missing here.
No, I mean, you could just go ahead. Valentin Barco is another one of those young ones, right? 21 years old for Strasbourg. He's had a hell of a season.
They play together. Yeah. They know each other well. They've had the same manager for a long time. There's a system in place. They should go deep in this tournament as well. And let's not also forget that the cup being on this side of the world, ticket prices and all that aside, there's a great support, I think, in the Americas in general for other American places. There's a big diaspora here of Latin American countries. So I think those countries will have better support, and then even more so in Mexico, right, which is a little bit closer to South America.
100%.
So yeah, they're definitely a team you got to look at. And the Messi too old is overblown thing. It's overblown. He doesn't need to play that much, especially with the expanded format.
Yep, he'll adapt for sure. I agree with you. I've definitely been overlooking Argentina, not thinking about them as much. The other team as well that I was just looking through on their roster, and I took out R7, CR7. If you look at Portugal's squad and just without Ronaldo, it is a legitimately very, very good team. And in particular, that midfield of Vitinha and João Neves. I think, those guys, and that's not including Bruno Fernandes and not including sort of, all the other sort of, wonderful players that they have. So and again, could you look at it and say, with Ronaldo having seen what Messi did last time and he wants to one-up him and go and get that World Cup that he's after, do you think there's a world in which Portugal could sort of, put together a run and suddenly be competitive here?
There's a world. There's always a world, right? Much stranger things have happened. My thing with Portugal is I think Ronaldo in combination with the manager, oh gosh, his name is going to escape me now.
Martinez, right?
Martinez.
Roberto Martinez.
Roberto Martinez. I don't love what he does tactically. I don't think it's very inventive. I think with the wealth of talent they have, particularly in the midfield, as you mentioned, that would be, other managers would be drooling getting to play with that. Yet I watch this team and it's just get the ball wide and get crosses into Ronaldo. And it seems like that's all they do. And I understand he's one of the greatest players ever in the game, the greatest goal scorer of all time, in my opinion. But he almost is like a black hole. There's a lot of gravity that comes to the man, and it seems like they filter balls into him when they could be doing other things more creatively. I mean, that midfield is just insane. João Neves, Bernardo Silva, Bruno Fernandes just broke the all-time assist record for a single season in the Premier League. Team is loaded, great defensively as well. But it's like that focal point just draws everything in. And you talk about Mbappé being selfish. There's no more player more selfish than Ronaldo, right? I mean, we see it. He complains when his teammates score and it wasn't him. You can't do that, man. You're the captain. You're the talisman. And maybe he puts it aside, honestly, for this because he knows if he could win the World Cup, suddenly that Messi versus Ronaldo debate is reignited. And you say, well, because to me it was settled last time. I said, okay, it's Messi. But if they do it, let's open up all those segments on all the talk shows again. Like, is it Messi or Ronaldo?
I do think one of the great storylines to watch is going to be the Ronaldo versus Ramos debate.
Gonzalo Ramos, the other striker.
Gonzalo Ramos, the other striker. There was that one very publicized incident where they took Ronaldo off the pitch, put in Ramos, and he scored a hat trick in the second half. And that was, eyebrow raising and questioning at the same time. And if Ronaldo does not start in some of these group stages, which is a possibility, or if Ronaldo's output and Ramos's output in the group stage games is disproportionate, there's going to be a lot of pressure on Martinez to be like, you got to bench him and you got to bench Ronaldo and you got to put in Ramos in order to give yourself the best chance. I think it's one of the great storylines to watch.
It'll be drama.
It'll be so. Sure. I mean, telenovela city, baby. I mean, it'll be. It'll be great.
And it'll be interesting. I mean, their group is pretty easy. Portugal will get through.
Yeah, they should have no trouble in getting through.
The head-to-head against Colombia will be a very good game. I think
that'll determine the winner. That'll be who wins that game wins the group. Yeah,
exactly,
100%.
exactly. So, and I believe that match was the first to sell out of the group stage, taking place in Miami. Huge Colombian population in Miami, so that could be
yeah.
And then, of course, Ronaldo draws his own crowd.
And only a 4.5-hour flight from Lisbon. So, I mean, why not, right? I mean, it's
only that? That's crazy to me.
It's not that long.
Oh, okay.
It's not. No, I mean, really, it's that short. It's not a long flight at all to go from Lisbon to Miami.
Yeah.
Maybe not 4.5, but.
No, it's about 5 hours. You're right. But it's sort of, really sort of coast to coast, isn't it? It's there. It's interesting you mentioned that, Devin, about Portugal-Colombia game as well. The other game in Miami that is also sort of completely sold out, and the game that I really wanted to go to was Scotland-Brazil. Just the idea of a bunch of drunk Scots in kilts with their bagpipes against the Samba boys of Brazil. That would have just been an atmosphere. But speaking of which, I noticed we're not putting in Brazil. I mean, I think this has maybe got to be one of the first cup where they're not considered in the top 4, top 5 favorites. So do you think, Ancelotti's kind of got sort of the wind in his back here and he can actually sort of put together a bit of a run here? Or do you think, the Neymar factor is sucking all the attention away and they're not to be a threat?
I will say, I think, and this is nothing new, I think it's one of the weaker Brazil teams of my lifetime. That being said, incredible talent everywhere on the pitch, and Ancelotti has gotten a tune out of players like Vinicius Jr. at Real Madrid in a way that no other manager has been able to unlock him, and I think that is going to help them a lot. It's interesting. I wouldn't bet on them in any direction, really, because there's a priced in thing I've noticed here from the bookies where they seem to be wise that a lot of the American public will be betting on soccer for the very first time. If that's you, we encourage you to bet, have fun, but you need to be a little bit prepared, understand a little bit what you're getting into. When you see, as an example, sports books will put up little like promos and it'll say like Christian Pulisic to win the Golden Boot, boosted to like plus 1,200. Don't do that. That's how they take your money. You might as well light it on fire. They know that you're an American fan. You're going to say, oh, Christian Pulisic's the best player. He's going to score a bunch. No, doesn't work like that. Don't do that. Listen to our podcast, Capping the Cup. We'll tell you where to get all the best angles. But Brazil's another one where it's sort of what we call a public team, where people know Brazil. We've heard about Brazil, the winningest international team of all time. So they're actually priced as one of the high favorites. I believe they're around 5. And that's far too high for a team that hasn't proven that much. Barely qualified out of CONMEBOL. I believe they finished 5th, and only 6 teams are guaranteed to go through, with the 7th going into a playoff. So
it was tight. Yeah, there was a risk that they didn't get there.
Yeah, not what you expect from a Brazil side. Now, again, Ancelotti's there. Does that change things? Look, the World Cup doesn't begin until we see those yellow jerseys and blue shorts out there. So I'll definitely be watching them. I personally think they could go deep. They have the talent, of course, but we need to see it with them. We need to see it, I think, before we start talking about the gambling, at least.
Then any other dark horses in terms of like teams?
Dan, you totally stole my thunder. I was going to ask the same question.
Hooligan.
I was actually going to go even. I was actually going to go even lower than dark horses. I'm going to say, which of the minnows do you think has the greatest potential to surprise?
So minnows, are you talking like the New Zealands of the world?
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about countries where where you may go, I don't know where that is, which is quite a few, right? Or perennial whipping boys, right? Like New Zealand, and I put them in that category. Teams that qualify and yet never really seem to do anything, and there's quite a few because of the expanded format.
Yeah,
you've gone to the 48, so
exactly. So Oceania, for the first time, got an automatic qualifying spot, which is why New Zealand got here. They're a team that usually will qualify out of Oceania, but has to go to the Intercontinental Playoff, and doesn't go well for them this time. They won Oceania, so they're automatically in. I don't think it's going to go great for them, but
nope, neither do I. So, but yeah.
But when you look at, for me, the most interesting sort of dark horsey teams come from the Asian Federation and African Federation, because they're really unknown quantities. We have some samples from things like the Asian Cup, from the AFCON, which actually just happened this past winter. So we have some sort of data points for them in competitive matches, which are good to look at. But oftentimes the competition is not nearly up to par of what they'll be facing here. So even a team like Japan, we talked about, consistently dominate the Asian federation there. But then where does that put some of the number 2 teams, like South Korea coming second? Australia was pretty solid in qualifying as well. Those kind of teams, how do they stack up against like the big boys of Europe and South America? And then in Africa, I mean, Senegal is a team I don't know if enough people are talking about, and Ivory Coast. Those two teams I think are legitimately very good, and the underlying numbers show that. Incredible defensive numbers. You can only beat who's put in front of you. So if you are playing Mali and Bangladesh, the numbers are going to be better. But these teams will schedule really good friendlies out of conference, out of whatever you call it, confederation, and have had really good results in those friendlies as well. I don't put a ton of stock into the friendlies when you look at results. But who I mentioned Japan. That's a team I think a lot of people are on. That's nothing new. So try to see if I'm looking through here. A lot of people talking about Norway. I agree. Their qualifying campaign was insane. I want to give you some numbers on this. So I clocked 16 competitive games for them. So that's the Euro qualifiers and the World Cup qualifiers. They did not qualify for the Euros last time, which is interesting. But in those 16 games, they've scored 51 goals. That's an XG of 2.35 per 90. That is a very, very good number. And we know about their attacking talent. And you mentioned before anyone who would be getting high assist numbers. There's a right back who plays for Borussia Dortmund named Julian Ryerson. Plays for this Norway team. Takes one side of the corner kicks. Udegaard takes the other. Ryerson, I believe he had like 14 assists in the Bundesliga this season. He had 4 assists in one game.
Wow.
I think he's a player that you could really look at for your fantasy lineups if you're doing that kind of game. Anything like that, where he's going to be involved in those creative passes. So he could be one to lead the team in assists, get some good price on that, or even lead the tournament in assists. Who else can I give you here? I hate to go Europe again, but Belgium. Belgium. We talk about them every World Cup. Every single World Cup. It's Belgium's the dark horse. Belgium's the dark horse. I really think they're the dark horse this time.
Really? You think they can actually go
listen,
deep?
I do. I think what they have this tournament they've never had before in those previous iterations is the best 1v1 dribbler in world football, Jeremy Doku.
I was going to say Jeremy Doku. Sure. That is
true.
true.
You need 3 guys just to stop him on that left side. If you do that, you open up space everywhere else. He hasn't been there before. His numbers of dribbles attempted and completed are 100 more than the next closest person in the UEFA qualifying. That's pretty incredible.
But
so
then
we know what their strategy is.
And what's great is then they have his polar opposite, which is Romelu Lukaku, who essentially is an immobile object.
Well, I've noticed, I've been watching them. Lukaku seems like a super sub. He's kind of the veteran, comes on late.
I think he's going to be that role too. He's going to be.
Seems like they're going
the battering ram. Bash down
they're
the
going
defense and knock down the door.
CDK, Charles de Ketelera. It seems like he's the one they're playing to start at number 9 up top, almost like a false 9.
Good player.
Kai Havertzy kind of player. Luca Bacchio comes in late too. He plays off the right. He's going to get a big move, I think, after this tournament. They have a lot of talent up there, and then you look at their midfield. To me, it could go toe to toe with some of the big boys. You know, you're talking about Yuri Tielemans, Amadou Onana. The guy's massive. Reminds me of Patrick Vieira out there with those high knees. Terrifying to challenge him in the center of the pitch. And Kevin De Bruyne, still pulling the strings, still playing quarterback for this team, if you will. You want to make American football out of it.
Yeah. I notice you haven't mentioned Morocco at all yet. And that's, for me, is kind of those ones. I don't think they can win it. But again, I mean, they got to the semis last World Cup. And obviously, we know what happened in the African Cup of Nations as well in the final, where they had it. So, do you think Morocco can also sort of recreate sort of that form for the last 2 tournaments?
Absolutely, and I think they could. They could win it. The thing against those African and Asian countries is that none of them have ever won it. So the pressure, if they get late on or make the final, will just be immense. But Morocco, Senegal, Ivory Coast are the 3 best African teams. I didn't mention them before because it seems like everybody's kind of on them now. So I don't want to be sounding like I'm kind of going chalk, as we say. But yeah, Morocco, one of the best defenses in world football. And should have a really good showing. I mean, the Brazil-Morocco game, I believe, is in the first set, is the first group game of Group C.
Yeah.
In the U.S.
That'll
Yeah.
be one I'm watching for sure. A weird nugget about Morocco is that they sacked their manager. Um, they have a new manager who's only ever managed with the youth team.
Yeah.
So how
Right.
does that translate? Can he come in and take care of these older guys and lead this team with the great expectations that they now have?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got a bold statement that I'm going to make. I've been saving this one, but Devin, I think you're the right person to
Ooh,
drop this on. I got
love it.
2 teams that I'm picking to get out of the group stage that I don't think anybody in their right mind does. And that's Haiti
Okay, bold.
and Cape Verde.
Okay, yeah, sure.
I think when you talk about really minnow teams, you don't get any smaller than these. Other than Curacao, you don't get any smaller than. And Curacao has no chance because they're in a really rough group.
Yeah,
They're not going to
that's a
have a
tough group.
chance to ever get out. But I look at especially when I hear you talking about how only 4 of the third place teams don't make it. I could see Haiti or Cape Verde sneaking in a couple of draws and suddenly getting themselves into a third place position where they make it.
Absolutely, like,
Haiti has 2 very, very solid Premier League veterans on their squad, right? Recent converts to the Haitian side, but yet skilled nonetheless. I mean, they put that incredible beat down on, was it New Zealand? They put 4-0. I mean, again, it's New Zealand. Let's temper our expectations, but still New Zealand is not necessarily, they're not chopped liver. So they could do it.
yeah, I think
When I'm going out on my tangent things, those are the 2 teams that are on my tangent radar, looking at their groups and going, there is a chance for them, right? There is a
yeah,
chance for them.
Haiti, I worry about because of the group. You got Brazil, Morocco, and Scotland.
Yeah,
Tough,
that's what I
tough.
think is so. That's what I really do think they have the capability of drawing any of those teams, though.
Well, I would defer to you a little bit on this as, as a CONCACAF man, you're gonna know Haiti well.
I just there's something about the way they're coming through, but it is, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have
Yeah,
to
they
wait and
have
see. That's what I'm saying. Bold statements. Bold
Jean
statements.
Ricard Bellegarde, I think,
Yeah,
plays
Bellegarde
for.
from Wolverhampton,
That's right.
and then
Plays consistently for them as well. So
he
high
does.
level in the EPL.
He does, and then there was one other. Oh, why am
Cape
I drawing a blank?
Cape Verde is a good one that you mentioned as well. Because their group is a lot more friendly to them.
They're a lot.
Look,
I think they probably have a better chance than Haiti does. Uh,
yes.
and their
Yeah, just
team's
because of
not.
the
And
group.
their team's not bad either. When you watch Cape Verde play, they've got an identity. They have a true style, so to speak, right? Even though every single one of their players was born abroad and is part of the diaspora, and but that's not unusual for a lot of these small
No.
countries. It's the
I
same thing
like
with
that they're doing
Curacao.
that.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they changed those rules and opened it up because you can get some players that would never sniff international football if they were in England or whatever can go to Austria. Carney Chukwuemeka was
Hmm.
an English capped player and then transferred over to Austria
That's right.
and now could play a big role for them. Cape Verde, you're right. We know how they're going to play. They have good defense. They don't need the ball. Come and beat us. Um, really good defense. They put up only allowed 8.8 expected goals in their 10 World Cup qualifiers, and only 2 of their opponents in those 10 matches created over 1 XG. So they know how to defend. They have that
Yeah.
identity.
Yep.
They're going against Uruguay, Saudi Arabia, and Spain. And I think a lot of this group could come down to goal differential. How badly do teams lose to Spain? Because that is the
Correct.
fear.
Yeah. That's right.
If you are Cape Verde, just you cannot get blown out. Um, and that'll be an interest. I believe that might be the first match. And the numbers on it are insane from a betting perspective. I think it's like a 4.5 goal total with Spain favored to win by 3 and or more goals in that match.
Hmm.
I'll have to
Yeah.
look at it, but But yeah, Saudi Arabia certainly beatable. Uruguay, they're high pressing basketball style. They're
Yeah.
going to let other teams into it. So
That's right.
that anything could happen there.
Okay. Devin, last question before we go and wrap up. From a betting perspective, and obviously you're trying to find the edges and the angles, the technology slash rule changes and also as well weather factors in some instances in some stadiums. Are you looking at this in any way and sort of thinking about sort of like ways in which you could fade it? Because, for example, right, they have this new ball, and every single World Cup there always seems to be complaints about the balls, how it's too light.
Yeah.
I remember in 2010. I remember in 2010 in South Africa, the Jabulani. It was too round. It was too round apparently. So
yeah,
too
round. I love it.
But I will say that Trionda ball, that new one that we've got, I've got it in my backyard here, and I play with my son. It does feel very light, and it's sort of like, it's not quite supermarket ball, you know, the one that goes like that when you kick it hard, but it does feel quite light. So that plus maybe and I know so the VAR rules have changed where they can do second yellows and some other stuff. So are you looking at any sort of side bets or anything that way with the rules or the technology changes?
The technology changes, I haven't really thought about as much. I think we need to see that in practice a little more before we can kind of understand what that's going to mean. I tend to think it's a little bit overblown. If it's like a late knockout round game, I have a hard time thinking they're going to be really enforcing some of those things, like players needing to come off for a full minute if they get hurt. I mean, I think I understand why they're making the changes because it is kind of annoying to watch guys rolling around and wasting time. But we'll see. We'll see if they stick to their guns and really enforce it. I don't think it affects the betting too much. You mentioned the elements. That I think will be a massive factor. We already talked about that final in New Jersey at 3 p.m. kickoff local. It's going to be a scorcher in there. If you're a team like Spain who can keep the ball, if you're having to run around and defend, that's tough. If you're a team like, say, Norway, who, in all their wisdom, it's very cool, but their jerseys are 100% black. So they have an entirely black kit and an entirely white kit, and they better hope they get to wear the white ones more because we know when you wear a black shirt, it's just hotter.
Yeah.
It absorbs sun. And I just wanted to say about the Jabulani, by the way, that was the best ball we have ever seen. We saw some of the best goals in that World Cup. I loved the South Africa World Cup.
Because it was round.
It was no, so this was a scientific thing. It was perfectly round. It's like mathematically perfectly round. And because of that, the way it flies through the air, something about the way wind moves past it causes it to knuckle. So it would like knuckle all the time. And you see these incredible goals where the keeper's nowhere near it.
Happening goal.
But yeah, so yeah, in terms of those things, heat definitely a factor. And then this is for every World Cup, but I will pay a lot more attention because you can bet on yellow cards, those kind of things. Who's refereeing these matches? Because these federations play very different styles. If you got a CONCACAF or a CONMEBOL ref against, and there's two European sides, you better get ready because he's not calling anything. It's going to be a rock fight out there. And that's beautiful. That's part of the beautiful game is that people have different ways of playing and it's officiated differently. And it's exciting to see. So that's one I'll always look at is who are the referee assignments? Not that I know the refs personally, but I'm just like, what confederation are you from? Because they're different styles.
No, it's true. Very true.
It's interesting you mentioned yellow cards. There's one thing that I've always noticed with World Cups is the first round of the group stages, right? Everyone's always a little bit nervous for the first game. And also as well, I believe that the referees obviously have been enforced to really crank down on the rules and for anything. So with all of these little changes, as you say, the sort of slow walk-offs or sort of, putting your hand over your face, I think generally you see quite a sort of slightly elevated number of yellow cards in the first round of the group phases as well. So again, that's just something to look out for as well. But yeah, that's interesting that you're looking at it that way.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because again, if it's a CONMEBOL ref, he's going to keep those things in his pocket because they're used to seeing a different brand down
and
there.
This is bone and blood before I'm pulling this out, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm very excited now. It's starting to dawn on me. This is the week of. Look, it seems like we're kind of winding down. So I want to ask you guys, because I have a vested interest, what do we think about this USA team? What do we think about Pochettino, this group, the weird lack of excitement, the strange political overtones of this divided nation of ours? what do we think this team is going to be able to accomplish in this tournament?
I'll
Gary,
go
you want
first
to
then.
start?
Sure. I think realistically, getting out of the groups should be expected. If they don't get out of the groups, and it is possible that, the US could choke on home soil, and being English and having seen this with England, believe me, I remember in a Euros, England lost to Iceland and got knocked out as well. So it does happen. I think realistically, an achievement would be quarterfinals. If the US get to the quarterfinals, I think they would have done well. If they get to the semis, incredible. I think they've absolutely overachieved. But my thoughts is just Pochettino is using this to sort of, when the job offers came along, with way you can manage the US in a World Cup year and there's a host nation, you take that job all the time as well. Again, it's not necessarily about the money, but he will just elevate himself. And look, he'll go, and I know there's been overtures that he's been having conversations with clubs and all those kind of things, which is not quite right. But yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I think the US, if they get to the quarters, I think that will be a very, very good achievement. But yeah, that's what I think with the US.
I agree that the quarters is that's the golden ring, right? If you're on the carousel, you gotta the brass ring is what they call it, right? That's where you're going for. But I think they get knocked out in the round of 32. I don't think I think they get out, but I don't think they're gonna make a round of 16. A lot of that will depend, obviously, on who they end up drawing. I will say this: the game against Germany gave me hope.
Agreed.
Like you say, I don't put a lot of stock in friendlies either. That friendly was different. That friendly was played with a lot of fire in the belly. I mean, in fact, you saw Germany getting angry because of the intensity of the tackles that were coming in the last 10 minutes of the game. US wasn't pulling any punches on that one. They were going all out. And they looked really good. That was a good looking match. It wasn't perfect, but it was so much better than I'd seen them play in any of their previous engagements. So that gave me hope, which means that they're going to get out of the first round. And I was beginning to doubt whether they were going to get out of the group stage. But
and what percentage did you have facing against Iran then in that round of 32? And yeah,
that's 48% if they come in second. But remember, they have to come in second, and Iran has to come in second.
Oh, there's other permutations too, though. I think
there's third places.
I thought that was the only. I thought that was the one that was the guarantee. The others are even, but okay.
Out of 100,000 simulations that happen, 50,000-ish.
Listen,
so
you are far better on the math and the predictions than I am, which is why you are on Soccer Sharps and I am only on the Hooligan podcast. So there you go.
Different styles, different ways to watch the beautiful game.
Different games to play it, different ways to play it.
And of course,
wonderful.
And how should I forget? You're also in Capping the Cup, because
that's right.
That is where
our current podcast. Check us out anywhere you guys get podcasts, anywhere, YouTube, on Amazon, Spotify, the Apple Podcasts, all the places. If you just search Cap in the Cup, you should find us. Our personal show is called The Soccer Sharps. We're partnering with the Designated Pundits, who are an MLS betting show. Soccer Sharps is a European betting show. We're coming together. We're joining forces across the pond to cap the cup.
Wonderful. Well, Devin, listen, we will have you back on obviously throughout the tournament as well as we get into this. So yeah, excitement is there. Thank you as always. Until next time, we'll be back tomorrow. Qooligan, as always. Let's get into it.
Peace.
Thanks, guys.